The alien princess discovers the human warrior was her husband all along. The twin suns of Zareth hung low over the jagged mountains, painting the sky in shades of orange and violet. Princess Liara stood on the edge of a cliff, her gaze fixed on the distant battlefield. Smoke rose in thin, gray lines from the city below, where her people were fighting a relentless enemy. Her heart pounded, not from fear but from determination. She had been trained all her life to protect her planet, and she would not fail. Liara adjusted the silver clasp on her armor. It gleamed in the sunlight, a symbol of her rank and responsibility. She was small in stature compared to some of her warriors, but her presence carried authority. The soldiers below respected her not just because she was the princess, but because she had fought alongside them since childhood. She knew the land, the tactics, and the enemy's weaknesses. A sharp cry echoed from the valley. Liara's ears twitched, her instincts alerting her. She leapt from the cliff with grace, gliding down using a hover device strapped to her back. Her descent was silent, precise, until she landed amidst the chaos of battle. Smoke, fire, and the clash of metal filled the air. Soldiers screamed orders and warnings, some falling to the ground, wounded. Liara's violet eyes scanned for the enemy commander, the one responsible for the latest attack on her people. And then she saw him, or rather them. A squad of armored figures, moving with cold efficiency, cutting through her defenders. They were humanoid, but their armor was unlike anything she had seen before. Sleek, dark, almost alive in the way it moved. "Princess!" shouted one of her lieutenants, grabbing her arm. "We need to fall back, they're too strong." Liara shook her head. "No, not yet, I will face them." Her voice was calm, but her heart raced. Something about these attackers felt different, almost familiar. She did not understand why, but a strange pull urged her forward. With a sudden burst of speed, Liara leapt into the fray. Her staff flashed in her hands, striking down one attacker after another. Each movement was precise, practiced, deadly. The soldiers around her fought with renewed courage, inspired by her bravery. Then she saw him. A human warrior, standing apart from the others. His armor was battered, scarred from countless battles, yet he moved with a fluid grace that caught her attention immediately. His hair was dark and tousled, his eyes a deep brown, and there was an intensity in his gaze that made her pause mid-strike. Liara felt a strange sensation, a twinge in her chest, like a memory trying to surface but refusing to be fully formed. She couldn't explain it, but she knew instinctively that he was not like the others. There was something different about him. The human warrior noticed her as well. For a moment, they simply stared at each other amidst the chaos, as if the battle around them had paused. Then, without a word, he lunged forward, not at her but at the enemy surrounding her. With skill and precision, he took down 2 attackers in a single motion, then a third. Liara's heart raced. He was saving her. Liara blinked in surprise. She had fought many battles, but never had someone from the enemy's side come to her aid. Her mind raced with questions, but there was no time to ponder. A blast of energy swept toward her from the remaining enemy forces. She leapt backward, but the warrior was faster. He intercepted the attack, his own weapon glowing with a strange energy that repelled the blast. "Who are you?" Liara demanded, her voice cutting through the chaos. The human turned his head slightly, as if considering how much to reveal. "I am someone who does not want to see more die today," he said, his voice calm but firm, Liara's brow furrowed. "You are one of them, yet you help me? Why?" He gave a small, almost sad smile. "Sometimes the right choice is not the easiest one." Before she could respond, an explosion rocked the ground nearby. The cliffside trembled, sending dust and debris into the air. Liara lost her footing and stumbled, but the warrior was there, catching her before she fell. His strength was undeniable, his grip steady and sure. She felt a shock, a strange warmth that ran through her body at the contact. "Thank you," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "You're welcome," he replied simply. The battle raged on, but Liara and the human warrior moved as if in sync. They cut through the enemy, their actions almost perfectly coordinated. Each move was precise, each strike purposeful. Soldiers around them began to notice and rallied, inspired by the unlikely pair. After what felt like hours, the enemy forces retreated, leaving behind a field littered with fallen machines and scorched earth. Liara's chest heaved, her body trembling with exhaustion and adrenaline. The warrior stood beside her unscathed, his breathing steady despite the intensity of the battle. Liara studied him closely. There was something familiar about the way he held himself, the way he moved, the intensity in his eyes. She shook her head, trying to dismiss the thought. It made no sense. How could a human from a distant world feel so known? "You saved my life," she said finally, breaking the silence. "Why?" He hesitated, then looked away toward the horizon. "Because I could not stand by and do nothing. Because I remember something, though I don't understand it fully. A promise, a face, a name. I do not know why it matters, but it does." Liara's heart skipped a beat. A promise, a name, something in her chest twisted at his words. She did not understand why, but a deep, almost painful longing stirred within her. Before she could ask more, her lieutenant ran toward them, urgency written across his face. "Princess, we need to regroup. More enemy forces are approaching from the south." Liara nodded, her mind racing. She glanced at the human warrior. "Will you help us?" He nodded once sharply. "If you wish it." Together, they led the remaining soldiers to a safer position, moving with efficiency and skill that amazed everyone. The humans and Zyrethians had never fought together before, and yet, somehow, the combination of their strengths created a force greater than either alone. As night fell, the battlefield grew quiet. Fires burned in scattered patches, and the distant cries of the wounded echoed in the air. Liara and the human warrior stood atop a ridge, surveying the destruction. "You fight well," Liara said softly. "So do you," he replied, his eyes meeting hers. "Better than anyone I've ever seen." For a moment they stood in silence, the chaos of the day behind them, the quiet night ahead. And in that silence a bond began to form, one neither of them fully understood, yet both could feel. It was a connection that transcended words, a recognition of something lost and now found. Liara looked at him once more, and for the first time allowed herself to wonder. Who was this man, and why did her heart feel as if it had known him forever? The twin suns dipped below the horizon, casting the sky in deep shades of purple and blue. The battle was over, but a greater journey had just begun. The night on Zareth was quiet, almost eerily so. The fires from the battlefield still glowed faintly in the distance, casting long shadows over the jagged cliffs. Princess Liara sat near a small fire in a temporary encampment with her warriors. Exhaustion weighed heavily on her shoulders, but her mind was far from rest. Her thoughts kept drifting back to the human warrior who had saved her life. She had not been able to forget him, not even for a moment. There was something about him that felt familiar, something that tugged at a memory buried deep inside her. She did not understand why she felt this way, but the feeling was strong, undeniable. The warrior sat across the fire, tending to a small device that emitted a soft blue light. He had cleaned his armor, though it bore scratches and scorch marks from the battle. Despite the chaos they had faced, he moved with calm, careful precision. Liara cleared her throat, breaking the silence. "You saved many lives today, not just mine, but the soldiers who would have fallen without your help." He looked up, his deep brown eyes reflecting the firelight. "I only did what felt right," he said quietly. "I could not stand by while people were dying. I remember fragments of something, but I do not understand it yet. It pulls me to this place, to you." Liara's heart skipped a beat. "Fragments?" she asked softly. "Of what?" He shook his head. "I cannot explain. A promise, a face, a bond. It is vague, like a dream I cannot fully recall, but it feels important, more important than anything else right now." Liara studied him closely. His words resonated deep within her. She did not know why, but she felt the same pull, as if a part of her had been waiting for him to arrive. The thought was both thrilling and frightening. Before they could speak further, one of her lieutenants approached, looking nervous. "Princess, we need to make a decision," he said. "The enemy may return and our forces are scattered. We cannot hold the city alone." Liara nodded. "We must regroup and form a plan," she said, her voice steady. She turned to the human warrior. "Will you join us? We fight for our people, for our home. Together we can protect them." The warrior hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "I will help. If it is the right choice, I will stand with you." And so, an uneasy alliance was formed. Humans and Zyrethians, once enemies, now worked side by side. Trust did not come easily, and many of Liara's soldiers were wary of the warrior. But they could not deny his skill in battle, nor the courage he displayed. Slowly, respect began to replace suspicion. Over the next few days, Liara and the human warrior moved through the ruined city, gathering survivors and reinforcing defenses. They shared little about themselves, yet their actions spoke volumes. In battle, they anticipated each other's moves without speaking, a silent understanding forming between them. One evening, as they rested near a small river, Liara finally asked the question that had been burning in her mind. "Who are you, really?" she asked, her voice gentle. "And why do I feel as if I have known you before?" The warrior stared at the water, lost in thought. I do not know," he admitted. "I only know that I feel connected to this place and to you. It is as if something is missing from my memory, something important. I feel it whenever I am near you." Liara's chest tightened. "I feel it too," she said softly. "It is strange and yet undeniable." The fire crackled between them, and for a moment the world seemed to fall away. They were no longer a princess and a warrior, no longer leaders of opposing sides. They were simply two souls drawn together by a force neither could fully understand. Days turned into weeks, and their alliance grew stronger. The human warrior's knowledge of tactics and human technology proved invaluable, helping Liara organize her forces more efficiently. Together, they trained the soldiers, combining Zyrethian agility with human strategy. Slowly, the scattered survivors became a united army. During this time, Liara began to notice small things about the warrior that puzzled her. The way he paused before making decisions, as if weighing more than the present moment. The way he looked at the stars at night, with a mixture of longing and recognition. The way his hands trembled slightly when he held certain objects, as if memories were surfacing without warning. One afternoon, while scouting a ruined observatory, Liara found a strange object buried under rubble. It was small, metallic, and shaped like a ring. She picked it up, brushing away dust and dirt, and immediately felt a strange energy coursing through her. Her fingers tingled, and her mind was flooded with fleeting images. A wedding ceremony, a vow under the stars, a promise made across worlds. Her breath caught in her throat. Could it be possible? Could this be a piece of her past she had long forgotten? The warrior, sensing her shock, stepped closer. "What is it?" he asked softly. Liara turned the ring over in her hands, feeling the strange familiarity. I do not know," she whispered. "But it feels like home, like something I have lost and now found again." The warrior's eyes widened. He reached out hesitantly. "May I see it?" As he held the ring, memories surged through him. Faces, voices, promises, a life he had forgotten but that now burned brightly in his mind. He gasped, staggering back slightly. "Liara," he said, his voice trembling. "This, I remember now, this is my wife's ring. My wife." Liara's eyes filled with tears. "Could it be?" she whispered, her voice breaking. "Could you be the one I married?" The warrior nodded, slowly piecing together the fragmented memories. Yes, yes, I remember. But how? How are we here like this after all this time?" Neither had answers, only questions. The universe had separated them, erased their memories, and yet somehow fate had brought them together again. The shock was overwhelming, but beneath it, a deep, unshakable joy began to grow. As they stood together, trying to comprehend the revelation, a distant rumble shook the ground. Both turned to see a new threat approaching. Enemy forces had discovered the encampment and were advancing, stronger and more organized than before. Liara clenched her fists, feeling a surge of determination. "We have no time for hesitation," she said. "We fight and we protect our people together." The human warrior nodded, his hand brushing against hers. The touch sent a spark of warmth through them both, a reminder of the bond they had once shared and now rediscovered. In the days that followed, they led their army through skirmishes and ambushes, using a combination of human technology and Zyrethian agility to outmaneuver the enemy. Each battle strengthened their bond, each victory reaffirmed their connection. Soldiers whispered of the legendary pair, the alien princess and the human warrior, who fought not just for survival, but for love and honor. At night, they would sit by the fire, sharing stories of their past lives, piecing together the memories that had been lost. The warrior spoke of Earth, of a quiet life before the chaos, of vows made beneath stars he could barely remember. Liara shared tales of Zareth, of childhood dreams, of duty and loss. With each story, their understanding deepened, and the connection between them became undeniable. Yet, even as their bond strengthened, they knew the battles ahead would be even more dangerous. The enemy was relentless, and the rogue forces that had attacked Zareth once would not stop until the planet was under their control. But for the first time in a long time, Liara felt hope. She was not alone. She had her people, her warriors, and now the human she loved by her side. Together they became more than leaders. They became symbols, proof that courage, loyalty, and love could cross worlds, species, and even time itself. And as the twin suns rose once more over the mountains, Liara and the human warrior stood side by side, ready to face whatever challenges the universe had in store. The journey ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Whatever happened, they would face it together. The ruins of Zareth's northern city stretched like broken teeth against the horizon. Smoke lingered in the air, and the scent of scorched metal and dust clung to every surface. Princess Liara and the human warrior walked cautiously through the remnants, their steps measured, every sound magnified in the silence that followed the recent battles. Liara's mind was a storm of questions and emotions. The discovery of the ring had shaken her in ways she could not fully explain. The warrior, her husband, lost to time and circumstance, now stood beside her, sharing fragments of memories neither fully understood. Yet amidst the shock, a strange sense of clarity had begun to form. She felt stronger, braver, because she was no longer alone. The human warrior, whom she had begun calling Kale, moved with careful precision. His eyes scanned every corner, every shadow. He had fought countless battles, yet this one was different. Here he felt the weight of history pressing down, as though the city itself remembered the events of centuries past. "Liara," Kale said softly, breaking the quiet, "there is something here, something important." "I can feel it," Liara nodded, sensing the same pull. "I feel it too," she said, "as if this place holds pieces of our past, fragments waiting for us to find them." They moved toward what remained of an observatory, its once grand dome now collapsed in jagged sections of metal and stone. Inside, the air was thick with dust, and sunlight streamed through gaps in the walls, casting long, eerie shadows. Among the rubble, Liara noticed a faint glow. Her curiosity drew her closer. Kale followed, his hand brushing against hers for a moment. The contact sent a spark through them both, a reminder of the bond they had shared long ago, now rekindled. The glow emanated from a small console, its screen cracked but still active. Symbols flashed in soft blue light, a language unfamiliar to Liara, yet somehow understandable to Kale. He knelt, tracing the symbols with his fingers. This is a memory recorder," Kale said, his voice tense. "It stores moments from the past, events, faces, promises. I think it may hold something about us." Liara leaned over, watching intently. "Then let us see it," she said. Her voice was steady, but her heart raced. She did not know what she would find. Kale activated the console, and a holographic image flickered to life. At first it was unclear, a swirl of light and shadows. Then the forms began to take shape, a wedding ceremony beneath the stars, two figures standing together, hand in hand. The bride wore a flowing gown of shimmering silver, and the groom stood tall, his face calm and strong. Liara gasped, clutching Kale's arm. It's us," she whispered, tears welling in her eyes. This is our wedding." Kale's breath caught in his throat. Memories surged through him like a flood, overwhelming in their intensity. He saw the vows, the promises made under a sky filled with stars unfamiliar yet comforting. He saw himself pledging to protect her, to stand by her side through every challenge, across every world. "I remember now," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I remember everything. Liara, we were married. We promised each other long ago." Liara shook her head in disbelief, tears streaming down her face. "But how? How did we forget? How did we end up like this, lost, separated, only to find each other again in the middle of a war?" Kale looked at her, eyes full of determination and sorrow. "I do not know. Some force, some strange twist of fate took our memories, scattered them across time and space. But we are here now. We have found each other again. That is what matters." For a moment they simply stood there, holding hands, letting the weight of the revelation settle over them. The world outside the observatory continued its slow decay, but inside, time seemed to pause. "Liara," Kale said softly, "we have a choice. We can let this moment pass and continue as strangers, or we can embrace it and fight together as we were always meant to." Liara nodded, her resolve strengthening. "Together," she said, "always together." Their reunion, however, could not last long in peace. A distant rumble shook the observatory, and the ground trembled beneath their feet. Liara's eyes narrowed. "The enemy," she said. "They are coming, stronger than before." Kale's jaw tightened. "Then we prepare. We use everything we have, Zyrethian skill, human technology, and our bond. Nothing can stand against us if we fight together." Over the next hours, they worked tirelessly, moving through the city to rally survivors and organize defenses. Liara's warriors, initially wary of Kale, began to respect him even more now that they knew of his connection to the princess. The bond between him and Liara was evident in every movement, every command, every shared glance. Soldiers whispered of the miracle unfolding before them, the reunion of two warriors destined to fight side by side. That night, as they rested briefly in a temporary shelter, Liara and Kale spoke quietly. "I never thought I would see you again," Liara said, her voice trembling. "I thought you were lost to me forever." Kale took her hand in his, holding it tightly. "And I thought the same," he said. "But now we have each other. No matter what comes next, we face it together." They shared stories of their lost years, piecing together memories and fragments that had been scattered across worlds. Kale spoke of Earth, of a life that felt distant yet familiar, of the love he had for Liara that had never truly faded. Liara shared tales of Zureth, of the responsibilities she had carried alone, of the longing she had felt for something missing in her life. As dawn approached, the first light of the twin suns illuminated the broken city. Liara and Kale stood side by side, watching the horizon. They knew the enemy would not rest, and that the battles ahead would be even more dangerous. But they also knew something more powerful than any weapon, the bond between them forged long ago and now renewed. In the days that followed, Liara and Kale led a series of daring strikes against the enemy. Using a combination of human technology and Zyrethian agility, they outmaneuvered superior forces, rescuing captured soldiers and reclaiming strategic positions. Each victory strengthened their army and bolstered the morale of their people. During one mission, Kale discovered an ancient map within a ruined structure. The map detailed locations of hidden energy sources and forgotten Zyrethian technology. "With this," he said, "we can strengthen our forces and protect the planet more effectively." Liara's eyes sparkled with determination. "Then we must act quickly. Every advantage counts and time is not on our side." As they planned their next move, Kale paused, looking at Liara with a mixture of awe and affection. "It feels strange yet right," he said. "To fight beside you again, to be with you. I do not understand the universe's plan, but I know this. We were meant to find each other." Liara smiled, feeling a warmth she had not known in years. "And we will," she said. "No matter what happens, we will face it together." Their partnership became legendary among their soldiers. Tales spread of the alien princess and the human warrior, reunited across time and space, leading their people with courage, wisdom, and unmatched skill. The army moved with renewed purpose, inspired by the bond between their leaders. Yet even amidst victories and hope, the shadow of the enemy loomed. Liara and Kale knew that a greater challenge awaited, one that would test not only their skills but the strength of the connection that had brought them together. As night fell once more, they sat together under the stars, the memory of their wedding etched in their minds. "We have been given a second chance," Liara said softly. "Let us not waste it." Kale nodded, taking her hand in his once more. "We will not," he promised. "We fight, we survive, and we love, together always." The twin suns rose the next morning, casting light on a world scarred by war but held together by hope. Liara and Kale, bound by love and fate, prepared to face the enemy once more, ready to reclaim their planet, their people, and the life that had been stolen from them. And as they moved forward side by side, it was clear that nothing, no force in the universe, could break the bond that had endured across worlds and time. The morning on Zureth was sharp and cold. Mist hung low over the mountains, curling around the jagged peaks like ghosts of the past. Princess Liara stood on a high ridge, looking down at the army she had gathered. Thousands of Zyrethian soldiers and human allies moved in careful formations, each ready for the battle to come. Beside her, Kale, the human warrior, and her husband adjusted his armor, scanning the horizon with keen eyes. "This is it," Liara said softly. "The enemy will strike soon, stronger than ever and more organized than before." Kale placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Then we show them what it means to fight together," he said. "Our people are soldiers, they believe in us, we cannot fail them." Liara nodded, feeling a surge of determination. She had trained for battles all her life, but nothing compared to this. Not just because of the enemy's strength, but because the stakes were higher than ever. The rogue forces that had invaded Zureth were not simply looking to conquer. They wanted to destroy everything, erase her people, and claim the planet's energy for themselves. The enemy army appeared first as a dark line on the horizon, moving with precision and purpose. Their machines glinted in the sunlight, their formations disciplined and relentless. Liara's stomach tightened. She knew the battle would be brutal, but she also knew that she was not alone. She had Kale by her side, and together they would face anything. "Soldiers of Zareth," she called, her voice carrying across the ridge. "Today we fight not just for ourselves, but for our homes, our families, and our future. Stand strong and fight with honor." The soldiers cheered, their voices echoing across the valley. Kale raised his weapon, signaling the human forces. "We fight together," he shouted. "For life, for freedom, for hope." The enemy advanced. Massive war machines rolled forward, followed by armored soldiers with energy weapons that hummed with power. Liara and Kale led the first wave, moving swiftly down the ridge, their warriors following in perfect coordination. The clash was immediate and violent. Energy blasts lit up the sky, and the ground shook under the weight of the machines. Liara's staff danced in her hands, deflecting attacks and striking down enemy soldiers with precise, fluid movements. Kale fought beside her, his weapon slicing through obstacles and enemies alike. They moved as one, anticipating each other's actions, their bond guiding them through the chaos. "Liara, to the left!" Kale shouted, deflecting a blast aimed at her back. Liara spun, striking down the attacker before he could fire again. "I've got it," she called. Together they pushed forward, breaking the enemy's first line of defense. Despite the chaos, they remained calm. Their soldiers followed their lead, inspired by the bravery and skill of their leaders. The battlefield, once filled with panic and confusion, now moved with purpose. Zarethians and humans fought side by side, blending their tactics to create a force stronger than the enemy had anticipated. Hours passed, each moment filled with the roar of weapons and the cries of the wounded. Liara and Kale never stopped moving, never stopped fighting. They covered each other, protected their soldiers, and struck with precision, exploiting weaknesses in the enemy's formations. At one point, a massive war machine advanced, its weapons capable of wiping out entire squads in seconds. Liara's heart raced as she assessed the threat. "Kale, we need to stop that machine," she shouted. Kale nodded, eyes sharp. "Cover me," he said. He charged forward, dodging blasts and weaving between falling debris. Liara followed, creating openings and distracting the enemy soldiers surrounding the machine. Together, they reached its base. Kale planted an energy disruptor, and Liara's staff activated it, sending a pulse that disabled the machine's weapons. It collapsed with a thunderous crash, and their soldiers cheered, invigorated by the victory. As the day wore on, the enemy forces grew desperate. They sent wave after wave of reinforcements, each more dangerous than the last. But Liara and Kale adapted quickly, their strategies combining human ingenuity and Zarethian agility. They coordinated flanking maneuvers, ambushes, and counterattacks, turning the enemy's strength against them. During a brief lull, Liara and Kale found themselves atop a small ridge, watching the battlefield below. The enemy was still strong, but the tide had begun to turn. "We're making progress," Kale said, catching his breath. "But the true enemy is still out there, waiting." Liara nodded. "I know. The leaders of this attack will not reveal themselves so easily. We need to be ready for anything." As if in answer, a massive shadow fell across the valley. The rogue AI, the mastermind behind the invasion, revealed itself in a towering battle suit, its weapons bristling with energy. Soldiers froze, fear spreading like wildfire. Liara's jaw tightened. "This is it," she said. "The heart of the enemy." Kale placed his hand on her arm. "Together," he said, "we fight together." They charged forward, leading their combined army toward the AI. The battle was unlike anything they had faced. Energy blasts tore through the air, and massive strikes from the AI's suit sent tremors across the ground. Soldiers fell, but they pressed on, inspired by the courage of their leaders. Liara used her agility to dodge attacks, striking at exposed parts of the AI's suit. Kale fired precise shots, disabling weapon systems and creating openings. Together, they coordinated attacks that weakened the AI steadily, their bond evident in every move. "Liara, now!" Kale shouted. She understood immediately, leaping and striking a vital point in the suit, while Kale hit another simultaneously. The AI staggered, sparks flying from its armor. For a moment, victory seemed within reach. But the AI was relentless, retaliating with a wave of energy that sent both Liara and Kale tumbling. They struggled to their feet, determination burning in their eyes. "We cannot give up," Liara said, clutching her staff. "Not now, not ever." Kale nodded, his grip tight on his weapon. We fight for our people, for our love, for everything. With renewed energy, they coordinated a final attack. Liara drew upon her knowledge of Zyrethian energy channels, directing a focused pulse at the AI's core. Kale used the human disruptor to amplify the strike. The combined force hit the AI with precision, and with a deafening roar it collapsed, sparks and smoke filling the air. Silence fell across the battlefield. Soldiers looked around, stunned but relieved. The enemy army without its leader began to retreat, scattered and disorganized. Liara and Kale stood together amidst the rubble, exhausted but victorious. Their soldiers cheered, rushing forward to celebrate, but the princess and her warrior remained focused, taking in the aftermath of the battle. Kale looked at Liara, his eyes filled with pride and affection. "We did it," he said softly. Liara smiled, tears brimming in her eyes. "Yes, together." They moved through the battlefield, helping the wounded and rallying their forces. The victory was hard-won, but it was more than just a military triumph. It was proof of their bond, their strength, and the power of unity between humans and Zyrethians. As night fell, they stood atop a ridge once more, watching the twin suns set behind the mountains. The planet was scarred, but hope had returned. Liara turned to Kale. "We have won the battle, but the war is not over. There will be more challenges, more enemies. But we face them together." Kale took her hand, holding it firmly. "Always together," he promised. "Nothing can break what we have, Liara. Not time, not war, not anything." They gazed at the stars above, the same stars under which they had once exchanged vows long ago. The memory of their wedding, their lost years, and their reunion all mingled in a sense of quiet triumph. They had faced the impossible, survived against all odds, and rediscovered a bond that transcended worlds. And as the wind whispered across the mountains, carrying the faint scent of smoke and hope, Liara and Kale knew that no matter what challenges awaited, they would face them as one, princess and warrior, husband and wife, united by courage, love, and destiny. The battle was over. But the work had only just begun. Zureth lay in ruins, its cities battered, its forests scarred, and its rivers choked with debris. Princess Liara and Kale stood at the top of a high cliff, looking down at the valley below. Smoke had cleared enough for them to see the survivors gathering, rebuilding, and helping one another. The sight filled Liara's heart with a mixture of relief and sorrow. The cost had been high, but hope remained. Kale stood beside her, his arm brushing against hers. "It is a start," he said softly. "We can rebuild. We can make this world better than it was before." Liara nodded, feeling the weight of her responsibility, but also the strength of having Kale at her side. "Together," she said, "we will rebuild together." The first task was simple but crucial, restoring order and safety for the survivors. Liara and Kale moved through the scattered groups, offering guidance, encouragement, and hands-on assistance. Soldiers and civilians alike responded to their presence with admiration and loyalty. The bond between the two leaders inspired people to work together, human and Zyrethian alike. One morning, as they walked through the remnants of the main city, a group of children ran toward them, waving and smiling. Liara knelt to their level. "Are you all safe?" she asked. "Yes, princess," one of the children shouted. "Because of you and him." The child pointed to Kale. Kale smiled warmly. "It was everyone's bravery that kept you safe," he said. "We just helped a little." Liara watched him interact with the children, feeling warmth and pride. She remembered how lost she had felt before discovering him, before realizing that the human warrior who had saved her was also her husband. That memory, once fragmented and confusing, now felt whole. In the weeks that followed, Liara and Kale organized rebuilding efforts across Zureth. Homes were repaired, water systems restored, and communication networks reactivated. The soldiers, inspired by their leadership, became teachers, engineers, and builders, helping their people regain a sense of normalcy. During the day, they led the reconstruction, but at night, they spent quiet moments together. Under the stars, they spoke of their lost years, their wedding, and the promises they had once made. The memory of their vows, though long hidden, now guided them. They shared laughter, stories, and dreams, their bond growing stronger with every passing moment. One evening, as the twin suns dipped below the horizon, Liara and Kale sat atop a cliff overlooking a newly restored village. The fires of the city now glowed with warmth and life rather than destruction. "I never imagined we would be here," Liara said softly, leaning against Kale's shoulder. After all that happened, after all we lost, we found each other again, and now we have a chance to create something new. Kale nodded, his hand brushing hers. I thought I had lost you forever, but the universe had its plan. It was not easy and it was not fair, but it brought us back together, and now we have a future. Liara looked at him, her violet eyes reflecting the last rays of the sun's. A future worth fighting for, she said. Their work was not without challenges. Small groups of enemy remnants tried to sneak through the outer borders, testing the defenses of the restored cities. Liara and Kale led patrols, coordinating human and Zyrethian units to prevent incursions. Every skirmish strengthened their armies and taught their people resilience. But beyond the practical rebuilding, there was the deeper work of healing. Families mourned, friendships were renewed, and communities began to thrive. Kale introduced human methods of agriculture, energy management, and construction, while Liara shared the traditions, wisdom, and spiritual guidance of the Zarethians. Together, they created a system that blended both worlds, fostering unity, trust, and shared purpose. In quiet moments, Liara reflected on her journey. She remembered the day she had first met Kale, unsure of his intentions, yet feeling drawn to him. She recalled the battles, the confusion, and the long nights of uncertainty. And now she held his hand, feeling a strength and love she had never known before. One afternoon, while inspecting a newly built energy station, Kale pulled her aside. "There is something I want to show you," he said, his eyes bright with excitement. He led her to a small hill overlooking the valley. There, beneath the open sky, he had prepared a surprise. Hundreds of small lights, floating crystals and lanterns, glowed softly in the gathering dusk. Liara's breath caught. "Kale, what is all this?" she asked, her voice trembling. He took her hands in his. "Liara, we lost so much. We were separated for years, but now we have each other. I want to honor that, and I want to start the next chapter of our lives together properly." "Will you marry me again?" Tears filled Liara's eyes as she nodded, speechless. The memories of their first wedding, their vows, and the promise they had made long ago came flooding back. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, Kale, always yes." The soldiers and villagers, gathered quietly around them, cheered. It was not just a celebration of their love, but of hope, unity, and the enduring strength of the human and Zyrethian alliance. The ceremony was simple but beautiful. Liara and Kale exchanged vows once more under the stars, their hands intertwined, hearts full. The twin suns set behind them, casting a golden glow across the valley. In that moment, nothing else mattered. The war was behind them, and the future stretched out, bright and full of promise. After the celebration, Liara and Kale walked through the village, observing the life that had returned. Children played freely, artisans worked on beautiful structures, and soldiers trained and shared stories with the people they had once protected. Zurith was alive again, stronger than ever. Liara paused to look at Kale. "We have done it," she said. "Together we have rebuilt our world." Kale smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "And we will continue to build it every day, together." In the weeks that followed, they established a council composed of both humans and Zyrethians, ensuring fair governance and collaboration. Trade, education, and cultural exchange flourished. The alliance between their peoples grew stronger, creating a world where differences were celebrated rather than feared. Liara often reflected on the journey that had brought them here. She had faced loss, confusion, and danger, yet the universe had given her a second chance. And this time she would not let it slip away. Kale, too, marveled at their reunion. He had traveled across worlds, fought battles, and faced impossible odds. Yet the most remarkable moment of his life was standing beside Liara, the woman he had married long ago, now restored to his life and heart. Together, they explored Zurith's mountains, rivers, and forests, discovering places they had never seen before and reclaiming lands thought lost. They laughed, shared stories, and created new traditions, blending the best of human and Zyrethian cultures. And at night, under the stars, they would sit together, holding hands, remembering the past and dreaming of the future. Their love had survived time, memory loss, and war, and now it was unshakable. The twin suns rose and set over Zurith, a reminder of cycles, resilience, and hope. Liara and Kale, united as princess and warrior, as husband and wife, faced each day with courage and love. They knew challenges would come, as they always did, but they also knew that together they could overcome anything. As the first flowers bloomed in the newly restored gardens, and as children ran freely in the streets, Liara smiled at Kale. This is our world now. A world we fought for, a world we will protect, a world we will love. Kale took her hand, squeezing it gently. And we will face it together, he said. Always. The people of Zurith thrived. The alliance of humans and aliens grew stronger, and two souls, lost and found again, led with courage, wisdom, and love. The story of Liara and Kale became a legend, a tale of reunion, unity, and the power of hope. And as the twin suns shone above, the planet glowed with life, promise, and the unbreakable bond of two hearts that had been destined to find each other, no matter how far the stars had separated them.